Welcome to the podcast. Where did you grow up? Are you from Tennessee?
No. So I grew up in South Mississippi, a little town called Picayune.
I know Picayune.
I think it's like the only place in the world named Picayune. I think it means of little worth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So went to college at the University of Southern Mississippi, which is about 45 to 50 minutes from where I grew up, and spent most of my time there. And 2014 moved to Tennessee.
Okay. The first time I went to Mississippi, I was like, yeah, it was about what I was expecting, because there's not much going on at all.
A few little pockets here and there. That's about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Every time I'm there, we go to Starkville, which is probably arguably one of the more happening parts of that state.
Right. Definitely.
And it's not exactly a metropolis by any means, but that's where it's going.
Yeah. Mississippi State baseball has done a lot for them. Seems like it's grown since.
It's baseball, huh?
Yeah, they're a big baseball community. Is
that right?
Yeah.
I don't know anything about college sports, but I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, they're good.
So what did you go to school for?
Well, it was construction engineering technology, but construction management.
Was it an actual engineering degree or
no? It was a Bachelor of Science degree.
Okay.
Construction management.
Yeah. So you just learned about kind of the basics. Project management class, estimating class.
A lot of scheduling, estimating. We had a soils class and, geology, just that type of stuff. We had some vector statics and strength of materials, was engineering classes, but it was pretty much the lower tiered engineering classes.
Yeah. Yeah. It was engineering. So I'd look at the construction management kids and them complaining about the math they had to do. And I was just like, come on.
Yeah. My mentor used to call it a VOTEC degree.
Yeah.
He was a civil engineer. He's like, yeah, you guys got that VOTEC degree. So, I appreciate that, Josh.
But the classes I enjoyed were my construction classes.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, finally, we get to talk about building things.
Practical stuff.
Because civil engineering, there's nothing about building stuff.
Right.
You'd think it would be about building stuff. It's not about building stuff.
Yeah.
It's just about, okay, so this force is applied to this beam.
Right.
What happens and how many pieces of rebar do you need in that beam? It's not about how do we put a bridge together.
Right.
How did you end up with studying that?
Ironically, so, my dad, I grew up around construction. My dad was in construction. He's actually with RAWSO, was with me at Eutaw as well.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah. And so I grew up around it, the industry, odds and end jobs in college. I was a poor, kid from South Mississippi. So I had to put my way through college, and, construction is the jobs that everybody does at that age. And I just really enjoyed it. And I went to community college first and kind of ran out of basic courses that I could take. And so I still didn't know what I wanted to do, and still really couldn't afford to go on to Southern Miss yet. I was still saving some money, and I started taking there was a cost estimation class and the literal VOTEC of the community college. And I realized I was really good at it, compared to the other kids in the class. I was picking it up quick and really enjoyed it. And so when I went on to Southern Miss, I was wanting to do coaching and sports administration. Got there and started going through. Southern Miss had a manual at the time, and you could read the different classes and read the different programs and see the different classes. And I noticed that there was one called Construction Engineering Technology. Started looking through and saw cost estimating, scheduling, all those things. And I said, you know what, I think that might fit. So I switched it that day and went to orientation as a construction engineering major instead of a coaching and sports admin major.
So you grew up around the industry, but you were not going to go into the industry as a career?
No.
Wow.
I know.
Why not?
I guess I just didn't. I never saw the path, really. I never saw it as a, back then, it was you want to go to school so that, you don't do a construction job and dig ditches every day.
Yeah.
I didn't see it as what it could be, and just kind of fortunately fell into that path.
What does your dad do?
So he's a utility superintendent. He was always in utilities, and I started out of college in 2006, and he came on as a superintendent with my former company in 2006 as well. And then about a year ago, or I guess about 4 months ago, I told him we needed some help over at RAWSO, and he came and joined us over there as well.
Oh, so he let you go over there first to
Yeah.
feel it out,
Test
huh?
the waters.
Yeah.
Yeah. He really didn't want to come. He wanted to retire. He's
Mm.
very close to retirement age, and he was just going to finish up his days there. And I hated to ask him. I was like, man, we need you. Keith is doing a great job on the grading side. We need some more experience on the utility side, because utilities are the tough thing to do right now.
Pipe is easy to screw up.
Yes.
And when you screw it up,
very costly.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
And you oftentimes don't realize you screwed it up until it's all
right
buttoned up. And
exactly.
then you realize you screwed it up. So now it all comes back
exactly
out.
Asphalt and everything else has to come out first.
Yeah. Dirt, you can kind of figure it out a little quicker, but pipe's a little bit more permanent.
Yeah.
Have you ever worked with your dad?
Yeah, I have.
How does that go?
Really well, actually. He's pretty hard on everybody. He's hard on me. But no, it's actually probably, I would say, helped our relationship. We weren't very close growing up. He was working all the time. Mm-hmm. My parents divorced when I was 3. So I grew up with my mom, would see my dad, every other weekend. And, we would hunt and fish and things like that. But we really just didn't have a close connection. And so the work really kind of brought us together, because we were, having to figure it out, together as a team. And so we've probably, when we go to Sunday dinners, we typically talk about work. And, when we go over for Christmas, we typically talk about work. And it's just what we enjoy doing together.
Yeah. So your mom was the one raising you.
Yeah.
He wasn't around raising you as much. Where'd you get the work ethic from?
Well, I got it from him, actually. So, interesting story. So I lived with my mom until I was in 10th grade, and I was a screw up. I was the hangout guy, having fun every weekend, didn't really have a work gene in my body. And I remember I got a job at Jitney Jungle Grocery Store.
Nice.
And my mom it was like a community grocery store, and she was friends with the manager, and, she would go in and talk to everybody. And I worked there for about 2 months, and I hated it. And then baseball season started, and I quit my job. And I told her I quit it, and she said, "Why did you quit?" And I said, "Well, because baseball season started. I got to play baseball." So you can work the schedule around baseball schedule, Mm-hmm. I said, "Nah, I really just need to play baseball. I need to focus on my athleticism,
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, "Oh, bull crap! You get down there and you get your job back." And so it was one of those things where, no, I'll just go live with Dad. If you're going to make me work, I'll just go live with Dad, thinking that was going to be the answer to everything. And so 10th grade, I moved to Picayune, Mississippi. I was actually living in Laurel at the time. Mom lived in Laurel. And I moved to Picayune. And, of course, that's the day my world changed, because Dad was, no, you're not going to sit around the house. You're going to work.
Dang, so in 10th grade, you were like, I'm moving.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's different.
Yeah. It turned out to be great, though.
Was your mom like, okay?
Yeah, she pretty much was. Yeah, she was like, fine, do it. I don't know that she thought I was going to go through with it. And then it was one of those things where I really went through with it, and, rest is history.
So you moved in with your dad to work less, but it went the other direction?
Yes, yeah. Especially so I moved in, I think it was November. And so it's so close to the end of the school year, and something to do with the credit system between the school in Laurel and the school in Picayune. They said, look, just don't come back the rest of the semester. You'll start January 1st, because we're about to break for Christmas. And I'm thinking, this is great. I'll hunt all day, hang out at night. This will be great. And so, like, the first day, my dad's like, no, you get up. You're coming to work with me. He was clearing land at the time. And so he, grew up around excavators. And so I would have to grease the tracks on the trackhoe. I'd do that first thing. We get there about 6, and I would do that. Once I greased all the equipment, then my job was I would go split firewood all day.
Dang.
And I would come home with a load of firewood every evening and unload the truck and get up the next morning and do it all over again. And so, which is a good thing, because I think my first semester of 10th grade, I needed gas money for something. And I don't know, there was some homecoming dance or something. He had given me some money the Friday night, here's your $60 for the weekend, Well, I mean, if you've ever taken a girl to a homecoming dance, I mean, you got to buy pictures and the corsage and dinner. And so my $60 was blown. And I remember going to him on Sunday night and saying, hey, Dad, can I get a little bit more money? I need some gas to get to school tomorrow. He said, well, I gave you $60 Friday night. And I said, well, Dad, I had this dance and I spent all this money. He's like, I don't know what to tell you. And he said, all I can tell you is go out there and sell some of that firewood. So, of course, I'm on the phone, calling all the neighbors, seeing who needs firewood, and was actually down at the bottom of the hill splitting some more firewood to sell to be able to get gas the next day.
There's a lot to that. Someone asked me about it the other day. I think it was on a podcast, and they're like, how'd you kind of get this mentality? And I think a lot of it was my parents. I screwed up, and my parents were like, okay.
Yeah.
well, what do you want us to do? And they kind of let me fail.
Sure.
And then let me figure it out.
Yeah.
Not, oh goodness.
Right.
You need more money? Here
Right.
you go.
Right.
Because that's a lot of parenting now is,
Sure.
oh, no.
Sure.
Or even let's prevent them from even failing in the first place.
Right.
And there's no adversity whatsoever.
Yeah.
And then they get into reality, which doesn't care about anybody.
Right.
And they get their asses beat.
Yeah.
I think that's valuable when parents don't save the day.
Yeah, I agree.
Because then you have to get creative.
Sure.
It's like, well, shoot, now that option's exhausted, I better go split some firewood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Huh. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, it all worked out pretty well.
When you were living with him, was he still traveling for work, or was he working locally?
He did when I first moved in. So there's a company out of North Mississippi, and he worked for that company for a little while, so he would travel. But for the most part, he was at home.
Yeah. So you go to school, you end up in construction.
Mm-hmm.
When you get to graduation, where do you go to work?
Well, actually, before graduation. So about a year before I graduated, needed work. I was doing some residential home building, and the builder that I was working for, it was kind of in a transition between finishing one and starting another. And so it was going to be a few months of no work. And so I got on the construction forum, and I saw this company called Eutaw Construction was hiring, looking for an intern. And so my dream job was Brassville and Gorey. They would come to the college all the time.
Be a GC, huh?
Yeah. Well, I didn't know anything. Didn't know any better. And so I'm meeting with Brassfield every time they come to the school and looking for internship opportunities and things like that. And I actually had an internship kind of lined up for that summer, and this was in January, but I needed something part-time till then. And so I saw this ad. I called this guy who ended up being my mentor, Josh Layton, and I call him, and he's telling me about what Eutaw does, and it's dirt, and he's the division manager of the utilities division. He's talking about large diameter pipe and all this, and none of this is appealing at all to me at this point.
Yeah.
And I even turned him down right there. I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I was actually looking for some vertical experience. I want to build buildings and skyscrapers and things like that. And Josh is a very confident guy. The nice way to put it, borderline arrogant at times. Which you got to be successful in this world.
Yeah, you need a little bit of that.
And it offended him because he's just not used to rejection. And so, of course, then it became a cat and mouse game. Like, why don't you just come try it? Just come give it 30 days and see if you like it. If you don't like it, then we'll do something different then. And I did, and I absolutely fell in love with it. The equipment, just everything about it, the civil industry, I fell in love with. And so that was in January of 2006 as a college intern. In May of 2006, I'll never forget, he was on the phone with our president at the time, the founder, Tom Elmore, and Tom was just kind of doing his weekly check-in, and he said, well, how's your new guy doing? Because at the time, it was just Josh, myself, and Debbie. We had a receptionist who was also Josh's mom. And, Eutaw at that time was a $85 million a year contractor, but we had this little satellite office that was a outbuilding out beside his house. It was like a garage, a detached garage. So Tom calls Josh, how's your new guy doing? He's doing great. We're about to lose him this summer. He's going to go to Brassville and Gorey. And Tom says, what do you mean you're going to lose him? He said, well, he's going to Brassville and Gorey. Well, hell, hire him. And Josh said, well, Tommy doesn't have a degree yet. He doesn't graduate till December. I don't give a shit. Hire him. Hell, we'll pay for the rest of his school. So Josh turned to me and he said, would you consider that? I said, well, look, man, I'm getting married in October. It would have to be a legitimate salary because I can't, because I was going to have to delay my graduation, and I was expecting to graduate in December. And they said, no, we'll give you a full salary. We'll pay you just like you're full time, go to school part time and delay your graduation a little bit, and we'll pay for the rest of your school, pay for your books. And
wow.
Yeah, the rest is history. So
I didn't know you started out with Eutaw.
Yeah. I was there for 17 years.
17.
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
Or maybe 16. We're going on 17.
And the interesting thing about studying construction in school is that it's really all geared towards GCs or residential construction.
Right.
Home builders.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones that pay all the money.
That's right.
For all the schools.
Yeah.
And
the big
miraculously, then the schools,
mm-hmm.
we'll send you all the graduates.
Right.
And the civil industry is kind of left in the dust a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty unique. It's not unique anymore, but
mm-hmm.
it's the minority by far
sure.
to go into civil out of college studying construction.
Definitely. Yeah. It certainly helped with the classes too, because I mean, I was getting real life, hands-on experience as a full-time employee. And I'm in a class of kids learning how to do, estimate and schedule when I'm doing it in real life. And so it really gave me an advantage.
That was really frustrating for me.
Yeah.
Because it was, I'd be sitting in heavy equipment class learning about scraper cycle times when it's, I was helping run a 627 spread all summer long. And you're like, well, I mean, it kind of works that way, but also not at all.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I mean, we could pencil this out on paper all day long, but that's not how reality
you find yourself
works.
Correcting the teacher.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you do that one too many times and you learn it's like, it's probably not the best strategy.
Yeah.
But it would drive me nuts because I would be like, once I found the field early. So I was 18 going into college in the field laying pipe.
Uh-huh.
And all I wanted to do was just go back, go back out there and start digging holes again and laying pipe and being with the guys. And I was stuck doing these math classes about construction
mm-hmm.
and then especially estimating class, but estimating how to build a side of a building that I didn't give a shit about.
Right.
And it's like, can I just go
bricks.
back? Yeah. I want to go move dirt.
Yeah.
So it drove me nuts, but it was a good lesson in patience.
Yeah. It's good.
So you start like kind of field engineer, project engineer, whatever you need to do.
Project administrator.
Administrator.
And I learned how to estimate first, which I know a lot of guys go out in the field first. And that's what Josh wanted for me as well. But with me being tied to school, a lot of our projects we had a big sewer project in Memphis, Tennessee. We had projects in Covington, Louisiana, just all over. So I had to be kind of close to the office so that I could still go to school, on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I missed a little bit of that field experience early on, but he taught me the right way to estimate. Mm-hmm. And so I've always had an affirmation for that and have enjoyed that side of things, especially when I did get some time to spend out in the field and really put the two together. It really helped.
I feel like that's key.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't feel like many people are good at both things. I feel like you're either really good at the field or really good at the office side of things.
I would agree.
I feel like it's good to have an understanding,
but
it's typically you're one or the other. And it's like, stay in that lane and let the other people do the other lane.
I struggle in the field. I'm good at the team building, the collaboration, the coordination with the owner, but like I have to have that Keith McBride with me that, okay, Keith, what if we did it like this? Would that work? I can price that up for you. And, so that field level experience is something that I think I was always short on. And
there is a lot of value to experience in the field because there's so many different ways of building things.
Right.
So you have a guy like Keith that's been doing it for decades and decades and decades.
Right.
He just has a lot of data.
That's right.
So you can tell him, well, could we build it that way? And he's like, I've tried that and it didn't work. So this is how we would do it. Oh, okay. Check. And as a young guy, you don't have the data.
Right. Yeah.
So when you were there with Eutaw grew significantly. Because Eutaw is a big company nowadays.
Well, it went from about 85 when I started in 2006 to probably 140, 150. They were about 145 when I left.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like they're bigger.
Feels like it, I know.
Dude, but they're all over the place.
I know.
Yeah.
They're just spread very, very far and wide.
I guess they are spread out.
It's a project here, a project there, but not, like you see in Nashville where, I had by far the most projects under my region. And I think we had like 8 to 10 at any given time.
Really?
Whereas the other two groups would have 3 or 4 tops.
Was the airport runway?
No, that was actually Lane Williams. So that was part of his group because I guess probably, I don't know, it was probably about 2015. We were just kind of getting off the ground here in Nashville. And a runway came out in Knoxville, or actually going back to 2012 when the economy tanked. Lane and I went to school together, and we were both in our utilities division. When the economy tanked, utilities dried up significantly. And so we had to kind of figure out how to eat, so I kind of went the earthwork route. Lane bid a runway rehab project in Columbus, Mississippi, and they got it. And so he developed some airfield experience. So when a project came out in Knoxville back in 2015, it made more sense for him at that time to do it. And so he really just built a team of people that chased that airfield work. And so that kind of fell into his niche.
And an airfield, one, you got to travel, obviously.
Yeah.
There's only so many runways in any given area.
Right.
And it's hard to get one of those projects, but then once you get one or two or three, now you have the resume that you need to even bid, like a BNA, for example.
Yeah.
They're not just going to put that out for bid.
That's
right. Oh,
right.
yeah. If you can put concrete on the ground, feel free to give us a number. It doesn't work that way. It's like, we need X amount of runway projects in the past 5 years or whatever it is.
They want the right companies.
For you to even be in the door.
Yeah.
But that was a fascinating one because they, correct me if I'm wrong, but they accelerated that a little bit and pushed it up because COVID pushed traffic through the floor. Yeah. And they're like, well, might as well tear up one of our runways or repave it.
Maybe so. Yeah. I'm not sure.
I just landed on it the other day. I was like, that's a good looking runway. Yeah. So they did a nice job.
Well, good.
So you, with Eutaw, they put you up here in Tennessee to grow their presence up here?
That's correct. Yeah. 2014, I'm still in our utilities division. We're bidding a $150 million, or ended up being $130 million utility rehab project down on Gulf Coast, Mississippi.
Jeez.
And the plan was, I was the lead estimator. The plan was, if we got that project, I was going to move an hour south to the coast and manage that project. So I'd kind of already had in my mindset, I'm about to move. If we get this project, we're moving. And we didn't get it. We ended up second on the project. And the day after, I got a call from our president and said, man, it's a tough bid. You guys did a good job. How do you feel about Nashville, Tennessee? And I said, never been. And he said, well, we just picked up this project up in Clarksville. And we picked up the hand-cooked tire job that was bid out of our Madison office or our Jackson office. And, we would like you to go up there and manage it and then open up an office, up there and start growing some work in that area. And he said, take your wife up there and wine her and dine her, take her to the Omni and see Nashville. And, y'all stay at the Omni. Well, I got Omni and Opryland Hotel mixed up.
Oh.
And so I booked the wrong hotel.
Yeah.
So
it's a big difference.
Yeah, a huge difference. So it's my wife and I going out a weekend out on the town at the Opryland with a bunch of senior citizens. So, but no, we had a good time and just really loved seeing the area. And back then, I mean, it looked completely different than what it does now. But we fell in love with it and started coming up. And my wife fell in love with downtown Franklin, and we moved there. I worked out of my home office for probably a year, maybe 6 months. Until we wrapped up hand-cooked tire, I had a project engineer that was in a site trailer, and I would just travel up there, 3 or 4 times a week. And when that job started dying down, he came in. He was in my dining room while I was in my home office. So after a while, I was like, okay, we got to get a space. And we got an office in downtown Franklin, and quickly outgrew that, and then bought a building in Franklin. And when I left, it was pretty full.
Really?
Yeah.
You guys, is there a lot of work in Nashville that you guys, or I guess Eutaw does? I feel like Utah's just so spread out.
Well, we were doing
Mazda Toyota. That was a big one.
Mazda Toyota. Yeah. And that's why, I mean, essentially I'm at RAWSO now. I mean, the business model that Eutaw has, it didn't fit what I was sent up here to build. What I was sent up here to build was, hey, we need a local presence somewhere. We need a home base, and then we can use that home base to cultivate the machine. And then when we have these big home run hitters, we can pull from the machine and go build them and then come back. And they're built to be a nomadic company. They've always been a nomadic company.
Yeah.
And so it'd be like trying to take a Kiewit and put them in one spot and say, you can't go anywhere but this spot. And so that's essentially what we did. We hired a bunch of people and said, hey, we're going to be right here in Nashville. And really the traveling model is what works at Eutaw, not the local deal.
Yeah. It's always funny to see Kiewit trying to establish like a local
Mhm.
presence, and they'll be bidding these jobs,
Yeah.
like an $8 million job, and you'll see
Right.
Kiewit there. You're like,
Or a $700,000 bridge job.
what are you guys doing here?
Yeah. Yeah.
like, go play in the $1 billion plus
Yeah.
market. Like, stop
Right.
trying to bid this,
Right.
because it's not economical for them.
Sure.
They're built to,
Yeah.
pursue
Mhm.
and do better than anybody else. The $1 billion,
Right.
500 million, billion, $5
Mhm.
billion projects.
Yeah.
Just doesn't
I think
work.
you got to know what works and what you're good at, and stick with it.
Were you involved in Mazda Toyota at all, or was
I
that
was
just,
not. No, that was Jonathan Huss. That was his group.
that was a monster
It
job?
was. Yeah.
Because I only know about that one through Reed.
Right. Yep.
Because I talked to Mike Reed about that a lot.
Mhm.
They were super proud about what they did out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a lot of dirt.
They did a good job. Yeah. I think they got up to 117,000 yards in one day.
Whoa.
The entire team, Reed
Yeah.
and us included. Yeah.
That's a monster day on a site work project.
It is. Yeah.
Shoot.
Yeah.
So, as we've alluded to, you're with RAWSO now.
Mhm.
So the change was kind of do what you intended to do before.
Sure. Yeah.
Focused on building a business that's focused intently on one region and kind of growing it from there.
Yeah, that, but mainly more just Dylan and I, we have a very similar outlook on vision and values of the two companies that we were trying to build. And I met Dylan in 2018 at a road builders convention. And I think it was the first one they had gone to. And I'm a social guy, whereas Dylan and Sean are not. They're somewhat reserved.
Yeah.
And
I'm right alongside them.
Yeah. And so of course I see these new faces and we go over and we start talking, and I'm asking them about their company and who they are. And, we just had a really good time hanging out, and I really enjoyed, just learning about his business and kind of his vision. And it was very similar to mine for my division here at Eutaw. And so I've always been attracted to what they were doing, what they were building. I've watched their social media presence and just been really proud of them, of what they've been able to do. And so Dylan and I would just kind of keep tabs, and he would reach out every now and then. And if you know Dylan well, he's persistent. And he would just subtly, hey man, let's grab lunch. And it wouldn't be an agenda, but it would turn into my wife pointed this out to me. He was leading me 3 or 4 years ago. He was pouring into me as a leader, encouraging me to read certain books. He introduced me to Extreme Ownership and all those books. And looking back on it now, I see it with personal or perfect clarity. But back then, I didn't realize what he was doing, and I don't even know that he realizes what he was doing. But he was really building a great executive to come join his team one day.
Sure.
And so I owe a lot of my personal growth from a business perspective, especially to Dylan.
I feel like that's key. I mean, that's what I do. It's never with an agenda, but you're always just looking for great human beings.
Yeah.
And you're always planting seeds.
Yep.
And you're always selling the vision.
Absolutely.
Sell it, sell it, sell it, sell it, sell it.
Yeah.
And it's funny who you absorb through the process.
Yeah.
Even if you weren't intending to do so, you're still
right.
always on the lookout for great people and always planting seeds.
Yeah.
And so what you talked about the vision, like what is the vision? What does that look like?
The people, it's not the construction. It's about creating an environment to cultivate better people, surrounding yourself with good humans. And I think so many companies, they solely focus on the work, and that's just not why I feel like God put me on this planet, to figure out how to move more than 117,000 yards in one day. No. Now, creating a team of people who, against all odds, accomplish a feat together, and they and what they gain out of that is that camaraderie and caring for one another, because they moved 117,000 yards together. Hey, I'm all for that. I can get down on that. And so that's what I've noticed about Dylan. It's a people-centric environment, and that's kind of the environment that I've always fostered as well.
Yeah, well, nothing gets built without people.
Yeah.
And I feel like you can have two mindsets towards people. One, they're just kind of a reality of building things. Like, you just have to deal with people, but the fun is the moving the dirt part. Like,
Right.
let's just build stuff. But yeah, I know we have to deal with people. Or the other way around, it's like, let's just build as many great people as we can, and then we're as a result, going to be able to create and build really cool things
Right.
and pull projects together.
Mm-hmm.
It's two schools of thought. The norm is typically the first school of thought, based on my observation, is really like people are just kind of there. And even if companies say that's not the case, and even if they don't intend for that to be the case, you can just look at even their investment and how much money they spend on technology and on maintaining equipment and on this and on that. But then when it comes to people, okay, great. Your number one problem is workforce development. So how much are you spending on workforce development?
Right.
Do you have a full-time recruiter? Do you go beyond just compliance from an HR standpoint? Do you have someone training? Do you have any investment in training whatsoever? Have you talked about leadership at all? If you're not making any of those investments, then you don't. That's really not a priority. It's clearly not a priority, just based on action. That's pretty simple to see.
Yeah.
So,
and you can answer yes to all those things for RAWSO.
Yeah, absolutely.
The money is spent in those areas. And you've got these companies now, it's getting their attention because we're in such a hiring crunch. And now, people are panicking, but people have been bitching about the same problem for 6 years, just not doing anything about it.
Yeah.
And that's was refreshing to see Dylan and Sean and Keith doing something about it a long time ago. I mean, social media is the start of it. That's what kids are looking at nowadays. That's where they're figuring out who they want to go work for. Some companies get it.
Yeah. And people ask, well, are you going into classrooms? And I've always had a problem with that question because it's like, I don't know if I need to. I mean, yeah, that's impactful. And yeah, I want to get as many kids in the seat of a 304 excavator as I can. That would obviously be a great workforce development strategy. Yeah. But it's not scalable. What is scalable? I can tell stories on the internet where every kid in the world is right now.
Right.
And let it work out from there.
Yeah.
And it's working out so far.
Yeah.
When did you join RAWSO? How long have you been there? You've been there a while.
November. So it's about 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. 6 or 7 months.
Yeah. Because when I was out there, I feel like you were pretty new.
Yeah. Yeah. So we moved in the office end of November. I think I started November 15th. Yeah.
Yeah. And I came there right when you guys moved into the new
office.
That's right. Check it out. Rolled my skid steer out there. How was that transition?
It's good. It took me a little while to figure out where the bathrooms were. After being with a company for 16, 17 years, you know that process very well, and so when you're come into a different company, you have to kind of figure out how the processes are different. Oddly enough, though, we have a lot of similarities between what I was accustomed to and all the same cost accounting software, same estimating softwares, scheduling softwares, things like that. So it's been good. I think, Dylan may say differently, but yeah, I'm still here.
You got paid this week, probably.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. No, the biggest thing I've noticed, and I think a lot of it is probably the office change has got a lot to do with it. But, my perspective of RAWSO when I first got there was everyone was very reserved, very quiet, just kind of stayed to themselves. I didn't hear a lot of whistling down the hallways and laughing and carrying on. And now it's very much like very collaborative. People seem happy. People are, saying good morning, things like that. And that I think a lot of that has to do with me. That's my disposition is very sunny, and I'm going to get people joking around and laughing and kind of get them out of their shell a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, Dylan, Sean, like you said, pretty reserved. Keith, super reserved. Yeah. I always joke he's like a snow leopard.
Yeah.
And especially every time we pull a camera out, Keith just fucking gone.
He locks up.
Yeah, he's not about it. I took his picture once, and that was a hell of a victory.
Yeah.
But I got him on camera one time.
He's such a humble guy, man. He doesn't want to be in the spotlight at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but that's also the problem. It's like,
you need him. Yeah.
We can't inspire the next generation without telling the stories. Yeah. And those are the stories we need to tell most are those guys that just live and breathe this shit.
Yeah.
Like a Keith, that guy can build, man.
Right.
Can you talk about the office? You said it's changed things a little bit. How has it changed things? Because isn't an office just overhead?
There's a sense of purpose. There were some positions that felt like, well, I've just got to process this paperwork and that's my job. No. Your job is so much more than that. You can, you're a leader. You are a leader in this company, and your actions they're felt out there in the field. They're felt with those guys that are out there in 98-degree weather, working their asses off, sweating every day. And so, your job is, yes, this paperwork is part of your job, but your job is to go out there and lead and inspire and support. Get 2 weeks out ahead of those guys and see what their hurdles are going to be and kind of solve those problems for them before they ever become a fire for them.
Mm-hmm.
And so just getting the team to realize that they're not just an overhead. They are an integral part of what we do. And I think that's starting to happen a lot more and more. It's becoming more and more prevalent.
Yeah. Well, and it's a symbiotic relationship. Sure, the people out in the field, they're the ones that make the money because those are the only billable line items on a project.
Right.
You don't also have HR and admin, and those are not line items on a bid as far as the bids I've seen.
Yeah, right.
You have an overhead line item, but no, it's all laying pipe, moving dirt, pouring concrete.
Yeah.
But those people could not build anything out in the field without the people around them supporting them from a permit standpoint, from a SWIP standpoint, and submitting pay apps and estimating and all of that is essential. Paying people.
Yeah, right.
There's a lot of infrastructure that's never seen at a construction company that makes a construction company work.
Right.
It's all essential. It's all essential.
Yeah, it's one big team, and that's what I've tried to always teach and foster is, we're a baseball team, and the players on the field are the ones that are actually getting the scoreboard, but without the bus driver that got them to the game, they didn't get there. Without the ticket sales, without the concession sales, then they don't get paid that Friday, or they probably get paid, differently, not every Friday, but you know what I mean? I mean, it's all one big team, and it takes the entire team to get things done. And that's just kind of always the environment that I've always tried to foster.
What you said, RAWSO's investing a lot in people. What are the specific things you guys are doing from an investment standpoint in people? How are you doing it differently?
Well, one, Kim Lush, I don't know if you've met her yet or not, but she's now our cultural relations manager.
Wow.
She has done, title. I know, right? She picked it. She was a project administrator doing a great job as a project administrator, but she just really understands people. And so we've kind of put her in this role, and, she's basically our director of HR, but she does a really good job of doing cookouts. And I mean, we're having the third quarter RAWSO rendezvous tomorrow, or second quarter. RAWSO rendezvous tomorrow, where every person in the company, all 130 people, will come to the headquarters, and we're going to barbecue tomorrow afternoon. We're going to sit out there and flip burgers and hang out, and, just so that's obviously, to engage the culture of the people that are already on the bus. We want to keep them engaged, and we share the vision. We had a Q1 RAWSO rendezvous where we basically put the 10-year plan up on the board for everybody to see. Hey guys, this is where we're headed. This is our ideal client. This is the markets that we want to pursue. We want them to be a part of that journey. And more importantly, the ones that don't want to be a part of that journey, we want to let you know this is where we're going. This is who we want to be. And if you don't like it, that's okay. There's probably a company out there for you. But this is who that we as a company want to be. And so, little things like that. We have a simulator, which, I mean, everybody has a simulator nowadays, but Keith pretty much mandates that on rain days, we bring those people into the office, and you've got those, Class D and Class C operators where it's, hey, spend some time on the simulator, spend some time with Dylan, not Dylan Stevens, but Dylan McBride, and let him coach you on how to run this excavator or dozer or loader or whatever. So really just invest in those people, spend some time with them, teaching them how to track quantities and the importance of why we track quantities. And what we've found is, those guys that have never been taught that, they realize that, hey, I'm not just running a shovel out here. There's a sense of purpose here. If I keep up with these quantities and I tell the guys back in the office how many cubic yards I shoveled here, not really cubic yards, but, then they can take that and apply that to the cost and see, are we making money or losing money? How can we get more competitive on future bids? And so they start understanding the why behind everything we do. And I think it's just investing in them, and they realize that, hey, these guys actually care about me. They want me to grow. They're telling me what I need to learn to grow.
One, if you're shoveling cubic yards, there's a problem somewhere.
Yeah, sure.
God bless anybody shoveling cubic yards. But two, there's so many people in the dark. Oh, they're just a laborer. Oh, they're just a pipe layer. Oh, they're just an operator. That's not their job. Their job is to move dirt. Well, yeah, but if they understood materials, quantities, schedules, how an estimate comes together, they can be a hell of a lot more effective.
And they can think for themselves.
Yes.
You don't have to tell them. They don't have to be robots, meaning they can say, wait a minute, I understand they need this information for a reason. I better let them know that this just changed here, because they're going to need to know that. Because if I don't let them know, they're not going to know that, and then the cost is not going to be right. So, they understand. They start thinking for themselves and really start molding into a foreman is what happens.
And then amazingly enough, now the foreman isn't just babysitting all day and making decisions for his people all day.
Yeah.
So they can stand back and look at the bigger picture and maybe think about, well, what's coming next week?
That's right.
And how's this thing coming together?
Exactly.
Hey, we got rain coming up. Maybe we should button this up over here before it all gets messed up.
Right.
And you can be a lot more proactive.
Yeah.
And you can actually be a foreman. A foreman's job is to lead, not to babysit.
Correct.
But so many people are just out there, boss, what next? What next? What next? Oh, yeah, it's this. And they don't actually lead.
Right.
They just manage.
Yep.
Pretty cool what you guys have come together. It's been fun for me because I got involved in RAWSO in 2018.
Okay.
So I've been involved in the company for 4 years, which they got started, I believe, in 2012.
2012, yeah.
10 years old. So I've seen, and when I came in the door, 6 years, still a pretty small outfit.
Yeah.
Their big job was a elementary school grading job at the time, which was sizable, but they had 2 excavators and a dozer and a loader, and it was their the big deal at the time. But now it's a whole different ball game. It's been fun to watch where they started when I came in the door versus where they're at, where you're at now. It's exciting.
Yeah,
it's working.
Sure.
Like, you can't argue with the results. It's just right in front of you. You're like, there's some merit to investing in your people because it seems to be working okay.
Yeah.
What's the future look like for RAWSO? What's that future vision?
Well, I think it's, legitimately it is defining who we are, who we want to be, which is, I say it, and I even said it in my division at Eutaw, and people always roll their eyes and laugh at me, but it's the Chick-fil-A of the construction industry. We're not going to always be the cheapest. Popeyes has good chicken, but it's going to be a little bit cheaper. But you better get ready for your service to be a little bit slower. You're going to be probably missing some stuff when you get home, and you're pissed off because they didn't put your barbecue sauce in there or not. But
sorry, Popeyes.
Yeah. I mean, look, I love Popeyes, but I'm going to pick Chick-fil-A over Popeyes. So, but by determining and really deciding that's who we want to be, it helps us answer the questions of what work we pursue. DOT work. I love transportation work. I love the consistency, the standardization, but it's a low bid world. And even though the DOTs may want to pick us because we deliver a good product on time and in a good manner for them, they can't because they have to go with the low bid contractor, and that just doesn't fit our DNA. We want to do it right. We want to give impeccable service. We want to do what we say, and so we're looking for a client that is supportive of that and is willing to pay a little bit of a premium to get that. And so just identifying that really helps us identify like what markets we're pursuing, but then also the purpose. And this is something that's always been important to me. And I think it's one of those things where, not Stephen Covey, but like a Jim Collins or Patrick Lencioni, somebody, one of those guys said this, but what is the purpose of the business? You have to come up with a purpose. Why are you doing what you're doing? And I remember asking Dylan this a couple years ago, and I don't remember verbatim what he said, but it was pretty much an identical, purpose of what I was, the reason, the purpose that I see in business. And it's really about the people, but basically it's to create an environment where we can help cultivate the best version of our employees. And that's both professionally and personally. And that's it. I mean, that is the vision of RAWSO, is to become the best in this area, known for having the best and brightest people. because of that, we think we're going to grow. We're going to continue to grow because we're going to find more and more people like us that have a passion for personal growth and development, and they're going to want to come get on the bus too. I mean, they already are. We've grown significantly since in a 130 person organization, we've added more than 30 people since I've been here.
Yeah.
We're growing, and because more people want to be a part of that.
It's pretty cool. I mean, I'll have people talk to me about RAWSO when I'm in California.
Yeah.
Like, why the fuck do you care about a company in Tennessee? Like, how does that have to do with you? But it's amazing. People are bought into following that, and they're just drawn to that.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty cool. And you've been there 6 months. So you got a lot of runway in front of you.
Yeah.
What's your title even?
Vice President Operations.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a fancy title.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I think they didn't know where to stick me.
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit of everything, man. I got, some HR, safety, project management, I'm just all over the place.
Sure. It's interesting though. You came in at a good time in their trajectory because I mean, I'm in the same position, building a company. You need different skill sets as you grow and change and scale, and you can only ideally you can look internally when you're bigger. But when you're smaller, you have to go outside of your current organization because, okay, great, your current organization's got you here, but I want to go over here. I need someone that's kind of been over there to even tell me where here is,
right?
And direct everybody there and grow other people to then go over there as well.
Right.
You need outside influence a lot of times.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's what Dylan saw, realized that, he needed some different perspective. And
well, we'll get Dylan on the podcast by, it's year 2022. Yeah. By 2030, I'd say. I'd give
When's
it 8
the last
years.
time he's done it?
Podcast Dirt Talk #1.
Wow.
It was the very first one.
Yeah.
And so every 2 months, I'm like, we should get you on the podcast. Like, yeah. Here we are.
Yeah, those
he
guys.
Sent me you instead.
I know.
The B team.
I know. Yeah, that's what he told me. I told him I didn't want to be on it. You need to go do it.
Yeah.
I think that's what so like at all of our events, I'm the one that speaks.
Yeah.
So I've just become the speaker, which of course I talk a lot. Everybody picks on me about that, but those guys they're just super humble, and they just want to be back in the shadows, and they don't want to be in the spotlight. But like you said, I mean, and I've told Dylan that, our employees need to hear from you because they value what you have to say. And I know you're trying not to steal the attention, but they care to hear what you have to say. So
big time. And that's, I've recognized, like, I'm not a natural communicator. I'm not a natural leader. I'm not naturally confident. I'm not naturally social. I'm really not. I could just live in my little cave, my little hole under my rock and be perfectly happy.
Okay.
But I've realized in the position I'm in to do what I want to do, I need to communicate effectively. I need to get the word out. I need to talk to people. I need to just be better overall.
Sure.
At leading and talking. So it's super uncomfortable and I don't necessarily enjoy it, but that's the game I play.
Yeah.
And I feel like to get to where RAWSO wants to go, it's like, Dylan, come on, you have good things to say.
Yeah.
Let's hear it. People want to hear it.
Yeah.
It's not a humility thing. It's really not. It's I feel like that's people, they fear coming off like an arrogant ass. It's like, no, I really don't think it's.
Yeah. No, nobody would see him that way. Yeah.
No, right. No, I don't think it's like that at all. But you'll talk to him one-on-one. You're like, why don't you say something? Like, can you come on the podcast, please? What's a guy got to do? Throw me a bone here. Come on.
We'll see if we can get him here.
Good luck.
I'll do my best.
Good luck.
Yeah.
So with RAWSO to follow along, you guys are all over social media these days, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah.
So that's probably the best place to see what you guys do day to day.
Yeah.
I need to come out and see you guys. I haven't seen a good RAWSO job in a while.
Okay.
Or every time I go out to a RAWSO job, it's just pig shit.
Yeah. It's been wet or yeah.
It's just bad.
We'll get you out to one.
But I told Dylan back in the day, it still hasn't happened because obviously time, but I want to just maybe turn my phone off and go to work for you guys for a week.
Yeah.
And even just as a laborer, I don't care.
That'd be great.
Put me in the ditch with the shovel. I'll go to work.
I'm sure Keith can find something for you to do.
I don't know if I want to work with Keith. I don't know if I'm that's the big league, so I'm not ready for that.
Yeah.
I would just be a disappointment.
Yeah. That'd be great. Do it.
I would never get I'm proud of you from Keith.
He's surprised.
He's like a guy like that is just classic construction superintendent.
Yeah.
You know, he just gets after it.
He does, but he's got a side that people don't just see often. And I mean, he deeply cares for his people.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, like, and I don't know if they feel that, but like he does. Like he's constantly looking out for them, standing up for them, and sometimes being the dad. You know, like we've talked about promotions, and I don't think he or she's ready for that position yet, and I don't want to see them fail. I'm ready for them to be there, and I want them to be there, but I think this is what they need to work on before I'm willing to put them in that spot. And I know we need someone in that spot, but I'm not going to do it at the detriment of my employee. And like, I mean, he takes up for his people, and I love that.
And
love that about him.
Well, that's why his standards are so high, because he cares so much.
Yep.
That's all those guys. They're just great people.
Yep.
But that's an interesting point, because we have learned this lesson. Just because someone is potential like there and could be promoted, you could destroy a pretty solid individual in that process.
I've seen it happen time and time again.
You can ruin that person, and then you can also poison the well of people they're leading, because people are smart and intuitive, and when they're being led by someone that isn't quite at that level, they're going to be like, well, what the hell? Come on.
I've seen it so many times.
Yeah.
And it just infuriates me. And so I've really enjoyed that about Keith.
But it's happening a lot right now because people
they're desperate.
They're desperate. Yeah. So you be a foreman, but they have no skills on how to be a foreman.
Right.
They're great at running a hoe. Okay. That has nothing to do with being a foreman.
Right. And then the next thing you know, their entire organization is full of operators that are foremen who don't know how to be foremen. And guess who that falls back on? That falls back on the superintendent or the project managers trying to do a job that they're, you know, we've got people out there to do a job and they're not doing it. And so then one person's having to do two people's job. It creates a culture of complacency, and it's not good.
Yes. And that's where, on average, where the industry's at right now.
Yeah.
Which makes it a problem for everybody.
I agree.
Because it's, these companies, they're so hyper competitive. And I love Dylan, but he's very competitive.
He's very,
And I think that's good, because I'm going to go kick some ass. But at the same time, I feel like the industry gets so fixated on competition that they forget that we're all on the same team.
Right.
And we're better off. It's not like there's this pie, like we don't have to fight for we can all have pie together. If we say, let's come together and let's bake some more pies as a team. But we can only bake more pies as a team because it's not our competition. It's not other people with excavators that are ruining things right now. It's other industries.
Yeah.
It's people outside of our world.
Right.
And we all need to think like one if we're able to achieve anything significant in the future. So it's good. Competition's good because it drives you to improve and to do better on the next bid and so on and so forth. But at the same time, I think that's one of the core problems of the industry is it's so competitive.
Yeah.
Everybody's so fixated on the next guy that they don't think, well, if he's better off, I'm actually better off the other day, because now we're not, now some shithead's not driving all the prices down the market that I have to compete with.
Together we can change the industry.
Yeah, because it's like RAWSO. You guys can say, well, we're not about always low bid, but at the same time, even if a GC does care about quality, they're still looking at your number.
Sure.
That's not a license to just put 30% over. Yeah, but we're quality. It doesn't work that way. Yeah. So if you're still competing with guys driving everything down, no matter how good you are, everybody's screwed.
Right.
Race to the bottom.
Yeah.
So that's my soapbox.
Yeah. All right. Feel better?
Yeah, I feel great.
Okay.
Well, I have this podcast.
Well, we'll figure out how to make it competitive for Dylan to come on the podcast. So what you need to do is you need to tell him, look, I really enjoyed talking to Matt a lot more than I ever enjoyed talking to you.
Yes.
And then, maybe he'll step up his game. And
well, I know an even better way.
Okay.
I'll just tell him like, hey, so we're going to actually have Civil on the podcast, or Jones Brothers on the podcast.
That's a good point.
He'd be here. Yeah. He'd be here in 5 minutes.
He probably would.
Yeah.
You're right.
Hey, so I heard the other guys were coming on, and I
spot just opened. Spot just opened up. Yeah. My golf just got canceled. Yeah, I'll come join. Yeah.
I'm just busting his balls.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, cool. I'm super glad you were able to come. I've been looking forward to this.
Yeah, me too.
So I was really excited when Dylan brought you on. Yeah. Excited to see what you're able to do with RAWSO. It's such a phenomenal foundation. I think you have a lot to add.
Yeah.
On top of everything they've already built.
Yeah,
So
great company, great people. It's been a great fit.
Yeah,
it's been a good decision.
They've been a total blessing to everything we've done at BuildWitt, and there's no way we'd be here without them, even the slightest. So like I said, there's a room out there named RAWSO because Dylan saved my ass.
Yeah, I love
back in the day.
I love it.
Yeah. Cool. Well, Matt McQueen, RAWSO, check out RAWSO at rawso.com.
Yeah.
He has that pretty sweet URL and on social media. Thanks, everybody.